keep these. We're going to leave the 11-inch side. So keep all your little strips that are going to come off because we're going to use those. 5.5. So when you're doing an album that has a hinge system for the pages, the one thing that you want to create with your pages is an open edge, because your open edge is what is going to lay on the hinge. Okay, so what I'm going to do with these is fold them in half. You could score them if you want. I'm just going to fold them in half. You'll get a cleaner edge if you score them. Why don't I score them? I'll just bring out my little mini here. Okay, so I'm just going to run through and score at 5.5. Then I'll make them easier to fold. And 5.5. Oops. Trying to rush myself. Okay. And now we're just going to fold them in half and crease them down. These are going to be our 6 pages. Okay. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just lining up my edges because I want them to sit on my hinge right. And 6. Okay, so essentially how this is going to work is we're going to glue the bottom of this shut to make a pocket, and then our open edge is going to sit and get glued onto our hinge like this, and that's going to be our page. Okay, but I want to add a flap to each page. Okay, so how we're going to do that is our flap, we're going to get 2 flaps. So I need 3 more pieces of paper. And we're going to cut 5.5-inch squares. So I'm going to cut vertically at 5.5. And then I'm going to cut it in half at 5.5. And that gives us 2 flaps. Okay, let's do that again. So we're going to cut it in half. We're going to cut vertically at 5.5. And then we're going to cut this piece in half at 5.5. One more time. 5.5. And then in half at 5.5. We're going to bring back in our scoreboard, and what we're going to do is we're going to score a 1/2 inch in from the side. So what I'm going to do, because it's harder for me to get over here at 1/2 inch, I'm going to score these 5.5 pieces at 5. Okay. Okay, now what we want to do is fold on that score line and angle our corners. Okay, so let's fold down our little flap sides here real quick. Okay, now I'm going to take my scissors, and this just ensures that there are no pieces of paper kind of hanging out the edge, and we're just going to angle each side that we scored. Just angle cut them. And we won't have any little paper hanging off the edges in case our cuts weren't super precise. And I find that it's not so much the cutting as it is like the measurements of the paper a lot of time aren't exact. Okay, one more. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my page, and with the open side to the left, on the back side of the flap here, I'm going to run glue, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to line my flap up to the edge of this page. Okay, so here's what we have. This is our page. It's going to have a flap like this, and then it'll have this page, and there'll be a pocket here. So I'm going to pause the video while I run through and do that to all these pages. Okay, I have all of my flaps on my pages, and what I've done is I've taken a decorative edge punch, corner punch, and I've just punched the corners of just my flap. The side that's not attached. And now we're ready to attach them in our book. Now, I want to explain something. This bottom edge is going to get closed with glue, okay? And I do not want to close that first, and I'll tell you why. Our hinge is almost the size of the edge of our page. And if I close this up first, it's going to close up part of that bottom, and we may not be able to get it to fit on our hinge. So it's very easy to go in afterwards and take the nozzle of your glue bottle and just squirt some glue in there and close it down. So that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take my glue, I'm going to push these hinges, and I'm going to start from the back. Okay, I'm going to take some glue and put it on both sides of my hinge, kind of from the middle of the hinge to the top of the hinge. I don't want to get too close to the base. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the open side of my page on my hinge almost all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to center it on the hinge. Almost all the way to the bottom, but not to the bottom. You do not want to cover your score line, okay? And then I'm just going to press this down and seal that on there. Okay? So there you have it. We have our first page in. Okay, we have our flap, the front of our page, and the back of our page. Now while I have this here, I'm just going to take my glue and I'm just going to squirt a line of glue in there, and I'm going to close up the bottom. And now we have our pocket. Okay? So it fit on our hinge and we have our pocket. So there we go. Okay, one more. Let's do one more. I'm going to show you another way that you can do this if you've never done this before. Okay, so here's my next page. Just start with one side, putting glue about on the halfway mark of your hinge and toward the top. Okay, and then just lay the back part of your page that's going to sit on that side. Center it on the hinge, lining it up with your previous page, and let that sit and grab. Okay, I want to make sure we're lined up. Sorry about that. Make sure we're lined up with our previous page. Sorry, now I've got to put it back on. There we go. Press this. I want to make sure I'm lined up with my previous page, so I'm going to lay this down, and I'm kind of crooked, so I'm going to pull it. There we go. Now it's nice and straight. Okay. And now go and just on the hinge, put glue on the other side of the hinge. Take your page and stand it up vertically and press it down into the glue. Okay, wait for it to grab. So that's another way you can do it if you're not comfortable working with both sides at one time. Okay, now I'm going to put some glue in here and close the bottom of my pocket. And there we go. Second page is in. Okay, I'm going to pause you and I'm going to put the rest of my pages in, and I'll be back with you in a moment. Okay, I have all of my pages in. So you see we have 6 pages. We have a flap, we have a front and a back, and then we also have a pocket right here on each page. Nice. And you can see mine's not perfect. I've got a page that's a little crooked here, and so don't stress about it. Once we get it all decorated, you're not going to really be able to tell. And we've trained our paper so it closes nicely. So this is what we have. Nice job, everybody. Okay, so tomorrow what we're going to do is we are going to decorate this with our designer paper. So pick out your paper pad that you want to use as you follow along, and we'll get it all decorated tomorrow. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow.